Hey, son.
Howdy.
Race 4 in the books. Bahrain, second of this triple header. I'm pretty sure everybody was high. I mean, you know, we got to let that Raga drop, as they say. Um, Liam, good old Liam Lawson, tough year. He looked like the Keystone Cops out of there. I think he wanted to hit everybody. Red Bull, Red Bull forgot how to do pit stops. They used to be great at pit stops, but then they forgot. I don't know what's up with that. And the Mercedes is like George. George, listen. Do not touch the DRS button. And George responds, I just touched the DRS button. It, yeah. Lando starts over the line. Safety car just appears like a mirage in the desert. I tell you, everybody getting track penalties. And when was it during free practice? Alonso's like, yeah, my steering wheel just came undone. So, all right, son, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, the American take on Formula One. We just finished watching Bahrain, sorry. Didn't mean to go totally Michigan on you. Bahrain, the Bahrain Grand Prix in the Middle East, race 4. It's the second race in this triple header. Patrick's son, that was a bit of an odd duck, that race. Was once again much of the action taking place not on the track, but in the pit row, in the paddock. All right, why don't you give me your takes from Bahrain?
Well, it's at the very least was maybe a bit more exciting, unusual, fun, quirky than last week was. So that was good to see. And if a little ganja in the tea uh, is what it takes, then maybe we just give everybody some nice tea before every race weekend. But on the whole, I mean, it was fun. It was exciting. There was a lot going on, as you mentioned, and there was a lot of good driving, a lot of good strategy decisions, and also some not very good driving and not very good decisions. But it was fun. It was fun to watch some of these uh, some of these more experienced drivers uh, kind of figure out their situation and really put their foot down and go quick. It was fun to see how good some of these rookies are.
They are.
Um, I mean, some of them maybe still haven't quite found their footing yet, but it's good to see. I still unsure of where Red Bull is at in their situation. Um, and still kind of unsure where Ferrari is at this point.
It,
So
yeah,
it was a good weekend, I think, for them, considering how they've started the season, but still not where they want to be. So
you know,
lots of interesting things to discuss.
I've long said Max Verstappen is the Michael Jordan of F1, and not just because he's the best around. I think he's remaking the sport, but also because if Jordan wasn't happy, everybody knew it, and if Jordan wasn't happy, something happened. Okay, Max is in a shit car. Okay, he comes in sixth, not too bad, but he comes in sixth, and basically all of Red Bull is now in crisis mode. They're all meeting, they're late night meetings, going into the morning there in Bahrain. Helmut's nervous. Christian doesn't know what to do. I think that says something. But first, let me get to Oscar. I think it was just last week. We said these McLaren papaya rules are dumb. You need to have a number one. You need to go for the driver championship. And we kind of think it's going to be Oscar. If they make a number one, and they should, it needs to be Oscar. I mean, Lando, he's so talented, but over a 24 race season, the mental fortitude, I'm just not sure.
Look, I'm all for allowing teammates to race each other. So I like the concept of whatever the fuck papaya rules are. But when we've seen the so-called papaya rules in action, what it means is don't race each other. Do not put the car in danger. And so
Fair
that
enough.
means then we don't really have any interest uh, in securing the drivers' championship. We just want to focus on the constructors, and that's if that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. That's fine. But I think you're right in saying that, like, Lando just maybe doesn't have the focus or determination or whatever it is, whatever it takes to become a driver or world champion. I think we sort of saw that last year. He really should have been able to take it to Max in the second half of that season and sort of, I don't know, just didn't really get the job done. Um, Oscar screwed up in race one this season, going off when the rain came and kind of totally tumbled down the order there. If not for that, at this point he would be top dog.
Yeah.
And I think he's proven over the last 3 races that he maybe has more of that will, more of that determination to be the number one than Lando does.
I mean, it just seems this way. We're only 4 races in, and I don't want to misconstrue the papaya rules. I mean, on their face, yes, it's like, hey, we're not going to harm anybody's race. We're not going to cost us points by you two battling it out. But I think in theory, yes, but in reality, we're not going to choose a number one driver, because if we were to do that, that's going to make some people unhappy, and we don't want that. And it's like, well, you kind of got to have a number one driver. So we'll see. But, I mean, like you're saying, you're right, Oscar in the rain, that first race, not so great. He went in the grass, but he's looked so good since. Now, another big story. Hold on. Double points for Haas. I mean, I know. Put your hands up.
Don't look now, but Haas is P5.
Haas is P5 in the standings. That's not possible after 4 races. Wow, I tell you. And Gasly was driving out of his mind in qualifying. I think in qualifying they were like, I think they had to triple check the times. They're like, how can this be? So, but someone else who looked good was Antonelli. He still looks good. I mean, he's in high school. He's basically in Italian high school, and he's out there racing and doing a great job.
So, I guess there's a few things to talk about there, but I will say, because I've long wondered how the child labor laws come into effect for like professional athletes, because I mean, soccer is maybe the one clear example I can think of where there are frequently basically high schoolers that come in and play professionally. And I go, well, they must still only be able to work like 20 hours a week or whatever it is, right? Like, what's Kimi Antonelli doing? I mean, he's driving all the practices, he's doing qualifying, he's doing the races, and I'm sure he's in meetings and things like this. I mean, how many hours does that take? I gotta believe that it's more than what is allowed under certain laws, but I don't know. Regardless, he's been driving awesome. It's great to see.
Yeah, and on the grid, every grid and every city and every country, there must be like 100 young women just throwing themselves at him, and he's like, "Sorry, I got to study for finals. You know, I got that big AP Calc test coming up. You know." Well, back to Oscar. Is he the favorite now? I know we're only 4 races in, but McLaren, that car seems clearly the best. Okay. Mercedes seems a second best, but somewhat distant. Then you probably have, I mean, we got to say Ferrari, right? That's certainly better than that Red Bull. That Red Bull's garbage. And so what, I mean, we got Oscar, Lando. You just can't count out Max. George. I think you got to assume George ahead of Antonelli. Charles, maybe, dark horse. I think everyone would love for him to win, but I don't know. It seems to me like right now, we've gone from starting the season thinking, oh, Max is going to win his 5th in a row, to no, this is going to be Lando's year, to no, I think Oscar's going to win the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, I mean, 4 races in, right, sort of maybe doesn't give you a particularly clear picture of how the season will play out. At this point, I almost think George is in the best position, given how wishy-washy McLaren is with their drivers and how seemingly almost challenging it is for the McLaren drivers to eke out the best performance from that car. It seems like George's has been the most consistent through 4 races this season. So I think he, in my mind, is maybe not the favorite. I still would have to assume that both of the McLaren drivers are favored given how quick that car looks. But if it were to be anybody else, I think you gotta look at George. Obviously, Max is incredible, but 4 races in, that Red Bull looks challenging to control, challenging to get the right setup. I mean, Max had difficulty all week this week trying to get it in kind of the right zone for him. And frankly, how just, I don't know what it is about the team, but they do not look like they are in tip-top shape like they have been the last several seasons. So I don't, as good as Max is, you can't win everything in F1 without a solid team backing. And right now, Red Bull does not look like they're backing him very well.
Well, in the off season, I mean, all the big news out of Red Bull really was Adrian Newey leaving for Aston Martin, getting a ton of money. But with the spending cap, with teams poaching one another, Red Bull's probably lost a lot of talent. I mean, they just, you think back to 23 when Max was winning everything, it's Max, best car, best team. Now you don't have best car. I'm not so sure you have the best team. That's a quick change. Similarly, I thought the way Ferrari finished last year and how well run that team seemed to finally be, and McLaren being the, team that they are, I just did not think McLaren would pull ahead this year. In fact, I thought Ferrari was going to pull ahead, and I was wrong about that. I mean, is Ferrari's season already over?
Well, I don't think we can count them out quite yet, but they certainly have not started in a promising position. Although this weekend looked much better. They seemed a little bit quicker a little bit closer in terms of overall performance to the top two teams there, and actually did look better than that Red Bull and Verstappen and Tsunoda. So that was good to see. Hamilton sort of starting to get a little bit more comfortable. I think still pretty clearly off the back of Leclerc, but isn't so far behind like a Sainz versus Albon maybe looks right now.
Right.
So that's good to see for them, and they didn't make any horrible mistakes, poor decisions, or anything like that this weekend. So overall, everything seems to be trending in the right direction. And because it's still early on, I know they're, I don't know, what is it, like 70 points back? But, you can make that up throughout the rest. There's 20 races left?
Yeah.
I mean,
right. And
you can make that up, right? So
right. The double disqualification.
As long as they just keep getting better and better and better, they still have a shot. So I don't want to count them out right now. But I think coming into the season, we expected them to be off the bat much better than they are currently.
Yeah. I was also wrong about young Mr. Hadjar. That, that turn one, race one, turn one crash, that wasn't even turn one. It was before the race, basically. I'm like, I just don't see how you recover from that. But now I'm thinking, I'm not so sure Yuki has that Red Bull seat for next year. Hadjar might get it. Hell, Red Bull could have 2 seats open the way Max is behaving. Just taking the team to town. Like, hey, we got to fix this shit. But so I think Hadjar could be their number 2 at Red Bull next year.
He could be. He's looked promising. I think he was that RB didn't look so impressive this weekend. A little bit maybe draggy, but he has looked solid, which maybe was unexpected given his race 1 incident on the outlap, on the formation lap, and subsequent reaction to that. But since then, he's looked pretty decent. He's come back and proven at least that he has the talent to go fast. But obviously, we've seen that just going fast maybe isn't all that you need in order to be an effective F1 driver. And, if we're talking about getting into that second Red Bull seat, I think Yuki in his second race for Red Bull looked a little bit more comfortable. He looked pretty close to Max closer to Max than any previous teammate, in the last basically season and a half. So,
because
he looks like a little bit more comfortable this weekend. And if he keeps going in that direction, then I think Red Bull will likely be happy with how he's performing. I don't know.
People love Yuki. It'd be nice if he stays. I just sort of have my doubts. But we'll see. Why don't you give me your top 5 drivers for Bahrain, Patrick, 2025?
I'm fine. I think we gotta keep giving props to Oscar. I think he looked like Max and sort of vintage Lewis in this race. Untouchable, basically. He seemed calm and composed and didn't put a single foot wrong and raced off into the distance, outqualified his teammate by some margin, outqualified everybody by some margin. He was, the best this weekend, I think.
He was, the whole week.
The best car. So that was an impressive showing from him. then I gotta say, you know, talking up rookies, I gotta say, I think Ollie Bearman once again
Oh, yeah?
proved just how good he is. I mean, the Haas car seems reasonable, which is good to see. I like that. And he seems to be pretty comfortable and confident driving it, and not a good qualifying. But guess what? He finished the race in the points and ahead of every other rookie driver.
Yeah.
So, pretty impressive showing from him.
Well, not intentionally, but I think people don't understand how difficult these cars are. You know, in the ground effect era, especially, like you were saying, it's not just about speed. I mean, the handling, dealing with the dirty air, the setup, and you're right. He's in a Haas. It's not one of the top cars. He's looking good. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
good pick, good sign.
I think, kind of like you're saying, people maybe underestimate how challenging it is to be a racing driver.
Yeah.
So I think it's impressive when these young guys, you know, when they're high school age or early college age, you know, come in and just can throw a car around a track the way that they do is pretty impressive.
And you, yeah, and also you are right. I had them transposed. I had Antonelli ahead of Bearman, and it was in fact Bearman Antonelli. So you are right. It was in front of every rookie.
Yeah, I think that's pretty impressive showing from him. Then, speaking of Antonelli, I'm gonna give his teammate a top 5 drive of the day. He once again just proved how good and consistent he is. At the very least, to start this season, George has been kind of on fire. The sort of overlooked man on track, and came up with a big podium again. Was able to hold off basically any challenge from anybody that came, and is putting Mercedes in sort of prime position to start out this season. So good from him. Then I've got Gasly, like you mentioned, kind of driving with his hair on fire. Alpine looked much better this weekend. Doohan also looked pretty good, but Gasly was one of the more impressive drivers of those sort of mid-pack cars this weekend. Crazy qualifying, really impressive there. And then overall solid race. I think he just kind of drove to where you would expect that Alpine to come in. So good from him. And then I've got Leclerc. I think Ferrari really needed a bounce back race. And Leclerc had an awesome qualifying, drove really well. Unfortunately, just that Ferrari does not seem currently to have the pace of the McLaren, and so he couldn't end up holding off Norris quite long enough. But overall, a really solid race, solid performance.
Nice. So you got Oscar, Ollie, George, Pierre Gasly, and Charles Leclerc. Nice. I don't really have much to say against that. I might have. No, I think I'm not sure I would have had Leclerc in there. So
I think Ocon was impressive also. There were a few guys. Honestly, I think you could even consider Yuki. I know maybe that's a stretch given that Max obviously outperformed him, but I think in your second race in that Red Bull seat to be as close to Max as he was, I thought was maybe telling about how much more confidence he has gotten in the last week in that car.
Yeah. Now, looking at the driver standings, Norris still leads at 77, but Oscar's closed the gap. He's at 74. But Max is at 69. I mean, there's 20 races. There's how many more sprints? At least 2. In a car that's not been the best, at a team that's had some misfires. That's McLaren are threatened. I mean, we think they've got the best car, and it's like, oh, their drivers are number 1 and 2, but Max is right on their heels. They really need to distance themselves. If they don't soon, then I think this could be another one with Max. Then you got George. You've been talking him up, 63. Then 5th place is distant. It's Leclerc at 32. And Antonelli, though, at 30. Not bad. Then the constructors, McLaren well ahead, 151. Mercedes at 93. Red Bull distant third again, 71. Ferrari, 57. Oof, that double disqualification, that's just going to haunt them. But Haas, I know it's a distant 5th, but they're in 5th place after 4 races in a sprint. Wait, have there been 2 sprints?
No, it's just the one in China.
Hamilton, and that's dang. That's awesome.
I'll put it this way: Haas has a little bit more than a third of the points that they scored last season, and we said last season they were pretty good.
Yeah,
finished 7th overall in the constructors, and frankly, didn't finish 6th because of some insane Alpine performance at Vegas or wherever it was. I don't remember. Yep. Maybe Brazil. It was Brazil. That's right.
Yeah, it was right near the end. I know. They had that amazing
in the rain. But yeah, I mean, so we thought Haas did pretty good last year, and they're already at like a third of the way there. That's pretty good. 4 races in. So,
all right. Switching to the soft compound. I do not have Netflix, but I did watch the latest season of Drive to Survive. And I have to say, and I don't think it's just because I'm an old man, I've forgotten every moment from it. Okay? I mean, and I don't hear many people talking about it. I remember enjoying it. I remember thinking, oh, they do this so well. It's so professionally done. It's the rare, somewhat sanitized insider view. But I remember liking it. Oh, Claire Williams won there, and she's hot. So I remember that. But that's about it. And I'm like, is that a good thing for F1? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it's maybe not great to know that, like, oh, it's just kind of like a fun thing to watch, and then it's over, and you're like, it's whatever. Because I think, quite frankly, nobody that doesn't know anything about the NFL. God, that was a terrible sentence. I apologize. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is the NFL and HBO typically do a show called Hard Knocks, where they basically have an insider look into the training camp of one of the teams, and they basically, show everything and how, honestly, like, pretty brutal the sport can be, emotionally, physically, what have you. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting and really quite insightful, I think, to get that perspective and that look into an NFL team, franchise, what have you. And I think, like, Drive to Survive maybe should be similar. I think we get a watered down version of what really goes on inside these teams, on the grid, in the paddock, and I think it would be a lot cooler if we could, even if it was just like, go inside one team, right? Just like, let's just look at Williams, okay? And focus on everything that goes on there. And maybe how kind of dramatic or challenging or whatever it is at that team. I think it would be more interesting for people, and people might actually remember it, get more interested in a team, get more interested in the sport, and kind of grow that audience. But I think as it is now, it's kind of just, for me anyways, when I watch Drive to Survive, it's sort of like just a recap on what happened in the season. Like, I remember that. I was surprised by that, or whatever it is.
That's a good point.
And I don't think it gives you necessarily better insight into what is going on, which I would really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I've actually seen a couple episodes of that NFL Hard Knocks show when they were in Detroit. And yeah, that would be good. Maybe do two garages, do Haas and Mercedes one year, and the next year, Red Bull and Williams, for example, and just but really good, unsanitized insider look. I love that idea. That would be great. I also just think, I don't think F1's popularity has peaked, but I think it's not in the high growth phase. Although I will say this, I walk around town and I'm in a university town, and I'll have, if I'm wearing, let's say, the Red Bull cap, especially young guys will say, "Hey, Max, you Max fan?" They're really into Max. He's the best, so I'm not surprised. That's who the young guys are fans of. But so that's always nice to see. So, but I really like that idea. I mean, I think what I'm going to do is give Drive to Survive another shot, watch it again. Maybe we can even do some reviews of it. But I think the NFL model, NFL Hard Knocks, that's a better model. Go really inside the garage, just a ruthless look at the glamour, the glitz, and just the horror of the sport. I think that would be great.
I think also, I guess to that point, is people typically have a favorite NFL team. And while a lot of people might have a favorite F1 team, a lot of newcomers to the sport just kind of like the sport or want to watch the sport, right? I think maybe sort of, I don't want to say pushing them in a direction, but giving them some more intrigue or interest into how a team operates gives people kind of that like emotional tie, I guess, to the team, to the sport, whereas I don't think people are necessarily getting that from the current Drive to Survive model.
Yeah. There's also, I saw a couple episodes, there was a NASCAR show that was similar in intent. But they spent a lot of time with some of the folks that had influence in the sport and for their team, but wasn't the driver or say the team principal. And yeah, so that would be, nice to see them interviewing, other people. Like, we don't need to hear about Lewis anymore. We don't need to hear about Max anymore, or have another interview with Toto Wolff. Who's the lead mechanic? Who's the guy who screwed up the pit stop and the release for Max today? I don't know. Who is that guy? Let's find out. Mm-hmm. Across the Line. That is our segment where we try and predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race, third leg of this triple header, is in Saudi Arabia. Last year, that was Max and Sergio. I think and Alonso, man, that Aston Martin, that team is just dropping like a stone. He did well last year in Saudi Arabia. I'm not expecting that this year. So, in Across the Line, we try to predict the top 5. If our driver does show up in the top 5, we get a point. If we get him in the exact right spot, we get 3 points. Patrick, what are the current standings of Across the Line?
Well, I was really hoping Lando would pass George for P2 in this race.
George
Or
did a good
maybe if
job.
George got the penalty for his accidental DRS push.
Right. That aside,
Because,
George could have been driver of the day.
Yeah. Because I would have gained quite a few more points on you.
I don't like the sound of this.
So anyways, you came into the week up 16-4, and scored 4 points to my 5 this weekend. So I only gained 1 point. You had Verstappen, Russell, Antonelli, Hamilton, Alonso. So 3 for Russell in P2, 1 for Hamilton. And then I had Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Albon. So I got 3 for Piastri, 1 for Norris, 1 for Leclerc. So I guess total points now are 20-9 in favor of you.
Okay, I'll take it. And man, Hamilton, after just did not look like he had his head in the game Friday or Saturday, he turned it around. That was P5, right? That was
race. Good. Yep, good race.
I mean, he's Lewis Hamilton still. All right, who goes first this week?
You have first pick.
Ooh. Well, McLaren has been on fire, but we have an angry Max, and when Max is angry, look out. So I'm going with Max all the way.
Max all the way. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull that off in Saudi Arabia, but we will see. I am going to go with the guy that has gotten close but hasn't done it yet so far this season, George Russell, P1. And then I'm going to take Oscar, keeping up the good form in McLaren.
All right. Well, then I'm going to take his teammate Lando and Mr. Charles Leclerc.
Nice. And I'm going to take his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, and the man that replaced him, Kimi Antonelli.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go 4th place, Yuki, my 4th pick, I should say. And with my 5th pick, Moss has been doing so well, we're going to go Esteban Ocon.
Nice. I am going to go P5. Let's see. We'll go with Sir Crashes a lot, Carlos Sainz.
Funny. Yeah, Carlos, I mean, I don't know. The Williams, we thought it would be mid-pack at best. But Carlos needs to start stepping it up. It's
not looking good.
yeah. It's 4 races in. Yeah. All right, so you have George, Oscar, Lewis, Kimi Antonelli, and Carlos Sainz. I have Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda, and Esteban Ocon. Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
I don't know if I have any crazy predictions. I guess so. As I think we've discovered now, influencers run the world. And Red Bull hasn't really caught on to this, which is surprising to me because there's so many shitty energy drink companies that use influencers to sell their products. And I think that at some point, Red Bull is going to sign like a TikTok star to be one of their drivers in their academy. It's just going to be like some little TikTok star kid. And they're going to get a ton of content out of that and sell a lot of Red Bull from it. So there we go.
That's actually brilliant.
TikTok star kid becomes Red Bull number 2 driver behind Max.
And dies in a
there we
horrific
go.
crash because what? He's a TikTok kid in
That's
the
my
F1
crazy
car.
prediction.
That's a great one. I don't have a great one. I will just say, years ago we were talking about this race, just like, who knows? Maybe it was Bahrain 2020. I don't know. And that was probably my idea. I was like, well, rather just talk about it, we'll do a podcast about it. And this is our 100th episode. Yay us. Yay Hard Compound. So my big crazy prediction is we get to 200 episodes.
200. There we go.
All right. I wish to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved Father and Son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. And we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.